The survivors from the Vrylith fleet were exhausted, both physically and emotionally. Many had endured months or even years of harsh labor under alien rule. Their bodies bore the scars of beatings, malnutrition, and overwork, while their minds carried the weight of trauma that would take time to heal. Yet despite their suffering, there was a spark of life in their eyes, a flicker of hope reignited by the sight of Earth's restored beauty. Ji-yoon worked tirelessly to ensure their needs were met. She organized makeshift shelters using abandoned buildings and tents salvaged from old supply depots. Food rations were stretched thin, but Hyeon and Da-eun managed to supplement them with fresh produce grown in nearby fields. Medical care was limited, but Ji-yoon's team did what they could to treat injuries and illnesses. Slowly, the newcomers began to recover, their strength returning as they adapted to their new surroundings. Min-soo played a key role in bridging the gap between Ji-eun's team and the returning prisoners. He shared stories of the rebellion aboard the Vrylith ships, inspiring others with tales of courage and sacrifice. His words reminded everyone that humanity's worth hadn't been erased, it had simply been tested. Those who had fought alongside him spoke proudly of their efforts, vowing to continue the fight on Earth. But not all the survivors were ready to embrace this new chapter. Some struggled to trust Ji-eun and her group, wary of promises that seemed too good to be true. "How do we know this isn't another trap?" one man asked during a community meeting. "What if the Vrylith come back for us?" Ji-eun listened, patiently, understanding their fears. "I can't promise you safety," she admitted. "No one can. But I can promise you this. We won't run away again. If the Vrylith return, we'll stand together and face them. This planet is our home, and it's worth fighting for." Her honesty earned their respect, though skepticism lingered. Over time, however, actions spoke louder than words. As the survivors witnessed the dedication of Ji-eun's team and the tangible progress being made to restore Earth, their doubts began to fade. They started pitching in, contributing skills and knowledge gained during their captivity. Farmers taught sustainable growing techniques, engineers repaired damaged equipment, and teachers organized lessons for children born aboard the alien ships. Together, they formed a fragile yet determined community. One evening, as the sun dipped, below the horizon, Min-soo joined Ji-eun on a hill overlooking the settlement. The air was cool and crisp, carrying the scent of blooming flowers and freshly turned soil. Below them, lights twinkled like stars scattered across the landscape. Lanterns hung outside homes, fires crackling in communal cooking areas, and solar panels glowing faintly in the twilight. "It's beautiful," Min-soo said softly, breaking the silence. "I almost forgot how quiet Earth could be." Ji-yeon smiled, her gaze fixed on the distant horizon. "It's still broken," she replied. "But it's healing. That's something, isn't it?" Min-soo nodded, his thoughts drifting to the challenges ahead. While Earth offered sanctuary, it wasn't without its dangers. Resources were scarce, and rebuilding infrastructure would require ingenuity and patience. Worse, the threat of the Vrylith loomed large. Though their flagship had been crippled, other ships remained operational. It was only a matter of time before they returned to reclaim what they had lost. "We need to prepare," Min-soo said after a moment. "If the Vrylith find us here, we'll need defenses." Ji-eun sighed, knowing he was right. "We've already started fortifying the area," she explained. "Hyeon's designing traps and barriers to slow them down, and Da-eun's working on repurposing old technology into weapons. But it's not enough. We're outnumbered and outgunned." "Then we'll have to rely on something else," Min-soo replied firmly. "Speed, strategy, and surprise. The Vrylith are powerful, but they underestimate us. That's our advantage." Ji-eun turned to look at him, admiration shining in her eyes. "You've changed," she said. "When I first met you, you thought running away was the answer. Now you're talking about standing your ground." Min-soo chuckled, scratching the back of his neck. "Maybe I learned a thing or two from someone stubborn enough to stay behind." They shared a laugh, the tension easing slightly. For a brief moment, it felt like old times, two friends dreaming of a better future, but reality quickly intruded, reminding them of the work that lay ahead. Over the next few weeks, preparations intensified. Minsu took charge of organizing the settlement's defense force, training volunteers in combat tactics and survival skills. He emphasized teamwork and quick thinking, knowing that brute strength alone wouldn't save them. Meanwhile, Ji-yun focused on expanding food production and improving living conditions. Every spare hand was put to use, whether planting crops, repairing tools, or gathering materials. Sua became an invaluable member of the community, using her engineering expertise to enhance their defenses. She designed automated systems to alert them of approaching threats and modified scavenged vehicles for rapid transport. Her innovations gave the settlers a sense of security they hadn't felt since leaving the Vrylith fleet. Despite the progress, tensions occasionally flared. Not everyone agreed on how best to allocate resources or prioritize tasks. Arguments broke out over leadership roles and decision-making authority. Ji-yun handled these conflicts with calm resolve, encouraging open dialogue and compromise. She reminded everyone that unity was their greatest strength and their only chance against the Vrylith. One particularly heated debate arose when a group of settlers suggested abandoning the current location and relocating to a more defensible area. "This place is too exposed," one man argued. "If the Vrylith attack, we'll be sitting ducks." Ji-yun shook her head. "Moving now would waste precious time and energy. We've invested too much here to leave it behind. Besides, running won't solve anything. If we're going to survive, we need to believe in ourselves and in this land." Her words silenced the room, quelling the dissent. From that day forward, the settlers redoubled their efforts, pouring their hearts into strengthening their position. They dug trenches, erected walls, and stockpiled supplies. By the time winter arrived, the settlement resembled a fortified village, ready to withstand whatever came its way. Months passed without sign of the Vrylith. The absence of immediate danger allowed the community to focus on rebuilding, but it also bred unease. Rumors circulated about secret transmissions intercepted from deep space, warning of an impending invasion. Others claimed to have seen strange lights in the sky, though no evidence supported these claims. Ji-yun tried to reassure everyone, emphasizing the importance of staying vigilant without succumbing to paranoia. Still, sleepless nights became common as people kept watch for any hint of trouble. Even Minsu found himself pacing late into the night, haunted by visions of Kalen leading an armada of ships toward Earth. One cold morning, those fears came true. A lookout stationed on a hilltop spotted movement in the distance, a fleet of sleek vessels descending through the clouds. At first glance, they appeared similar to the Vrylith ships, but closer inspection revealed subtle differences in design. These ships were smaller, faster, and armed with advanced weaponry. The alarm sounded, sending the settlement into a frenzy. Families scrambled to gather belongings, while defenders rushed to their posts. Ji-un and Minsu stood side by side, watching as the ships touched down several kilometers away. The invaders emerged cautiously, their movements deliberate and calculated. To everyone's shock, they weren't Vrylith. Instead, the newcomers were human, but not ordinary humans. Their uniforms were sleek and futuristic, their weapons gleaming with alien technology. They identified themselves as members of the Free Human Alliance, a rebel faction that had broken away from the Vrylith years earlier. "We heard about your uprising," their leader, a woman named Yuna, explained. "We've been searching for survivors ever since. When we intercepted your signal, we knew we had to investigate." Relief washed over the settlers, followed quickly by suspicion. Who were these strangers? Could they be trusted? Ji-yun stepped forward, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Why should we believe you?" she asked. "How do we know you're not working with the Vrylith?" Yuna held up her hands in a gesture of peace. "You don't," she admitted. "But ask yourself this. Why would the Vrylith send humans to negotiate? They see us as inferior. We're nothing but tools to them." Her answer rang true, but Ji-un remained cautious. "What do you want from us?" she pressed. "To help," Yuna replied simply. "The Vrylith are planning a full-scale assault on Earth. They view your rebellion as a threat to their empire. If we don't stop them, none of us will survive." Minsu exchanged a glance with Ji-un, silently weighing their options. Trusting these strangers carried risks, but so did facing the Vrylith alone. After a long pause, Ji-eun nodded. "We'll listen," she said, "but remember this. If you betray us, we'll fight back. Humanity has paid too high a price to give up now." Yuna smiled faintly. "Fair enough." As the two groups began discussing strategies, Ji-eun couldn't shake the feeling that their struggle was far from over. The arrival of the Free Human Alliance offered hope, but it also highlighted the complexity of their situation. Humanity's worth had been ignored for too long, forcing them to carve out a future amidst chaos and uncertainty. Back on Earth, the atmosphere was calm compared to the tension brewing in the Galactic Council. The planet hummed with life, cities bustling, oceans shimmering, and skies filled with ships coming and going. Amidst this activity, Jun-hyuk sat, alone in his lab at the Global Research Institute, GRI, staring intently at a holographic display. On the screen floated intricate patterns, glowing faintly against the dim lighting of the room. These weren't just random designs. They were fragments of something ancient, something extraordinary. Jun-hyuk had spent months analyzing these artifacts, pieces of technology unearthed during an excavation in Antarctica. When the discovery was first made, no one expected much. It was supposed to be another routine dig, searching for remnants of Earth's distant past. But what they found turned out to be far more significant, a cache of crystalline devices etched with symbols unlike anything humanity had ever seen. At first glance, they looked like decorative relics, but deeper inspection revealed their true nature, encoded information, carefully preserved by a long-extinct civilization. Su-jin, the head of GRI's ethics committee, entered the lab quietly. She carried herself with an air of authority, though her voice was soft when she spoke. "Any progress?" she asked, leaning over Jun-hyuk's shoulder to examine the hologram. He nodded without looking up. "Yes, but it's complicated. These aren't just tools or weapons. They're blueprints for energy systems, terraforming devices, even medical advancements. Whoever created them wasn't trying to conquer. They were trying to heal." "Heal?" Su-jin repeated, raising an eyebrow. "From what?" "That's the thing," Jun-hyuk said, finally turning to face her. His eyes sparkled with excitement, though there was a hint of unease behind them. "We think they faced extinction themselves. Based on the data, their civilization collapsed because they relied too heavily on destructive technologies. In their final days, they left behind these fragments, hoping someone else would learn from their mistakes." Su-jin frowned, processing the implications. "So you're saying we've essentially been handed the keys to rebuilding entire worlds? That kind of power could change everything." "Exactly," Jun-hyuk replied. "But it comes with risks. If we misuse it, or worse, if others get hold of it, the consequences could be catastrophic." The two fell silent, the weight of the situation settling between them. Humanity had always dreamed of advancing beyond its limitations, of becoming equals with the galaxy's most powerful civilizations. Now that dream seemed within reach. But dreams often came with nightmares attached, and neither Jun-hyuk nor Su-jin wanted to wake up to disaster. Before they could delve further into the discussion, an encrypted message flashed on Jun-hyuk's console. It was from Ji-eun, sent directly from the Galactic Council. Her words were brief but urgent. "They know. Prepare evidence. Delay disclosure until we understand their intentions." Jun-hyuk sighed, rubbing his temples. "It started already," he muttered. "The council knows about the artifacts." Su-jin's expression hardened. "Then we need to act fast. Transparency is our best option. If we keep this hidden, it'll only fuel their suspicions." "I agree," Jun-hyuk said hesitantly. "But rushing into this could make things worse. Think about it. What happens if the council demands access to the artifacts? What if they try to take them by force? We can't risk losing control of something this powerful." Su-jin crossed her arms, considering his point. "You're right. We can't hand it over blindly. But we also can't sit back and do nothing. Ji-eun is buying us time, but sooner or later we'll have to explain ourselves. And when that happens, we'd better have answers." Determined to uncover those answers, Jun-hyuk and Su-jin dove deeper into their research. Over the next few days, they pieced together fragments of history, decoding the Luminized story bit by bit. The Lumini, as they called themselves, had once thrived across multiple star systems, their society built on innovation and ambition. But their relentless pursuit of progress led to environmental collapse, wars over dwindling resources, and ultimately their demise. Their final act was to encode their knowledge into durable artifacts, scattering them across the galaxy in the hope that another species might find them and use them wisely. As the picture became clearer, Su-Jin grew increasingly concerned. "This isn't just about Earth anymore," she said one evening, pacing the lab. "If the Council learns the full extent of what we've discovered, they won't see us as partners. They'll see us as a threat. Or worse, a resource to exploit." Jun-hyuk nodded grimly. "Which is why we need to tread carefully. Ji-Yun's instincts are good. Buying time gives us a chance to prepare, not just evidence, but a plan. We need to show the Council that we understand the responsibility that comes with this power." While Jun-hyuk and Su-Jin worked tirelessly, Ji-Yun and Min-Su navigated the political minefield aboard the Galactic Council's space station. Each day brought new challenges, as rumors spread like wildfire throughout the galaxy. Some claimed Earth had stolen the technology from a rival civilization. Others whispered of secret experiments gone awry. The truth remained elusive, buried under layers of speculation and fear. Min-Su grew increasingly frustrated with Ji-Yun's cautious approach. He believed honesty was the only way to defuse the situation. "We can't keep stalling," he argued during one heated exchange. "Every moment we delay makes us look guilty. If we don't come clean soon, the Council will have no choice but to act." "And what do you suggest we say?" Ji-Yun shot back, her patience wearing thin. "That we stumbled upon alien tech, capable of reshaping planets, that we're still figuring out how it works? They'll see that as proof we're reckless and untrustworthy." Min-Su clenched his fists, visibly struggling to keep his temper in check. "I'm not saying we should reveal everything, but keeping them completely in the dark isn't helping either. Trust has to start somewhere." Ji-Yun knew he was right, but she couldn't shake the feeling that revealing too much too soon would only escalate tensions. She needed more time, not just to gather evidence, but to gauge the Council's true intentions. Were they genuinely concerned about galactic stability, or were they looking for an excuse to seize Earth's newfound capabilities? Her thoughts were interrupted by another encrypted message from Earth. This time it was from Su-Jin. "We've decoded key sections of the artifacts. The Lumini emphasized balance and restraint. Their downfall proves unchecked ambition leads to ruin. Use this angle to build trust." Reading the message, Ji-Yun felt a glimmer of hope. For the first time since arriving at the Council, she had a direction, a narrative that might resonate with the ambassadors. The Lumine's story wasn't just a cautionary tale, it was a testament to the importance of wisdom and cooperation. If she could frame Earth's discoveries in that light, perhaps she could convince the Council that humanity was worthy of trust. At the same time, however, Ji-Eun couldn't ignore the growing divide between her and Min-Su. Their disagreement over strategy was straining their partnership, creating rifts just when unity was most needed. She knew they couldn't afford to let personal differences undermine their mission, but bridging the gap between their perspectives seemed impossible. Meanwhile, on Earth, Jun-hyuk and Su-Jin prepared for the inevitable. They compiled detailed reports, documenting every step of their research and emphasizing humanity's commitment to responsible use of the Lumini's knowledge. They also reached out to key figures within Earth's government, ensuring everyone was aligned in their messaging. As the hours ticked by, Ji-Yun found herself reflecting on the enormity of the task ahead. Humanity stood at a crossroads, facing choices that would shape not only its own future, but the fate of countless other civilizations. The power bestowed upon them by the Lumini was both a gift and a burden, and how they wielded it would define their legacy. In the end, Ji-Yun realized, it wasn't just about proving innocence or avoiding conflict. It was about showing the galaxy that humanity had learned from its past mistakes, that it could rise above division and greed to become something greater. With that thought in mind, she resolved to move forward, one careful step at a time. Outside the space station, the stars continued to shine, indifferent to the drama unfolding below. Somewhere among them, the echoes of the Lumine lingered, waiting to see whether humanity would honor their legacy or repeat their tragedy. The tension aboard the Galactic Council's space station had reached a boiling point. Ji-yoon and Min-soo found themselves at the center of an escalating storm, their every move scrutinized by ambassadors from across the galaxy. Accusations flew like arrows in the council chamber, each one aimed squarely at humanity. The debate raged on for days, with no resolution in sight. Ji-yoon knew they couldn't keep delaying answers indefinitely. The council's patience was wearing thin. It was during one particularly heated session that Ji-yoon made her move. Standing before the assembly, she took a deep breath and addressed the room. Her voice was calm but firm, cutting through the chaos like a blade. Esteemed council members, she began, we understand your concerns. We share them. Humanity does not wish to withhold information or create mistrust. However, these developments are complex, and we must ensure our findings are accurate before presenting them. Kael'thor, the towering reptilian ambassador, narrowed his golden eyes. Your caution is noted, Representative Ji-yoon, but time is a luxury we cannot afford. If Earth refuses to provide clarity, we will have no choice but to act decisively. Ji-yoon nodded, acknowledging his point. I propose a compromise, she said, her tone measured. Allow us to invite a delegation to visit Earth. Let them see firsthand the origins of this technology and witness how it is being used responsibly. Transparency is key, and we are willing to open our doors to prove our sincerity. The suggestion sparked immediate debate among the counselors. Some, like Lyravan, the soft-spoken aquatic ambassador, supported the idea. A visit could foster understanding, she said gently. Seeing Earth's progress might ease fears and build trust. Others, however, were less convinced. Vorath, the frail-looking elder who led the council, leaned forward, his expression skeptical. And what guarantees do we have that this is not a ploy to buy more time? How can we be certain you will not conceal evidence? Min-soo stepped forward, his voice steady. You have our word as representatives of humanity. More importantly, you have the opportunity to verify everything yourselves. What better way to address your concerns than to see the truth with your own eyes? After much deliberation, the council reluctantly agreed to Ji-yoon's proposal. A delegation would travel to Earth to investigate the claims. Kael'thor and Lyravan were chosen to lead the group, along with several other ambassadors representing diverse factions within the council. Ji-yoon felt a flicker of relief. They had bought themselves more time, but the real challenge lay ahead. When the delegation arrived on Earth, they were greeted by Jun-hyuk and Soo-jin, who stood ready to guide them through the research facilities. The atmosphere was tense yet hopeful. Ji-yoon watched closely as the ambassadors disembarked from their shuttle, their expressions ranging from curiosity to outright suspicion. Kael'thor scanned the horizon with sharp, calculating eyes, while Lyravan seemed genuinely intrigued, her glowing skin reflecting the sunlight. Welcome to Earth, Ji-yoon said, bowing slightly in greeting. We are honored to host you and eager to share our discoveries. Kael'thor grunted, his voice low and gravelly. Let us hope your hospitality extends to transparency as well. Without further delay, the group set off toward the Global Research Institute. Along the way, they passed through cities powered entirely by clean energy, where skies were clear and streets hummed with activity. Vast forests stretched across landscapes once barren, reclaimed using advanced terraforming devices. Even the oceans sparkled with renewed vitality, teeming with life restored by filtration systems. Lyravan marveled at the transformation. This is remarkable, she murmured, her melodic voice filled with awe. You've achieved balance between progress and preservation. Such harmony is rare. Jun-hyuk smiled faintly, though his gaze remained cautious. It wasn't easy, he admitted. We faced challenges, failures, and setbacks, but we learned from those experiences, and from the lessons left behind by the Lumini. At the mention of the Lumini, Kael'thor stiffened. Tell us more about these benefactors, he demanded. What proof do you have that this knowledge was gifted, not stolen? Soo-jin stepped forward, holding up a crystalline fragment, encased in protective glass. This is one of the artifacts we discovered in Antarctica. It contains encoded information written by the Lumini, a civilization that existed long before ours. Through careful study, we've pieced together their history and their warnings. She led the delegation into the Institute, where holographic displays showcased the Lumini's story. The ambassadors listened intently as Jun Hyuk explained how the Lumini had risen to greatness only to fall victim to their own ambition. Their final act was to encode their knowledge into durable artifacts, scattering them across the galaxy in the hope that another species might learn from their mistakes. "This proves nothing," Kael'thor growled after the presentation concluded. "How do we know you haven't altered the data, or fabricated it entirely?" Ji-un stepped in, her tone diplomatic yet resolute. "We anticipated your doubts, Ambassador. That is why we've kept detailed records of every step of our research. You are welcome to review them at your leisure. Furthermore, we've invited independent experts to verify our findings. Our goal is transparency, not secrecy." Despite his skepticism, Kael'thor agreed to examine the evidence. Over the next few days, the delegation toured Earth's facilities, observing how the Lumini's technology was being applied responsibly. They witnessed desalination plants turning seawater into fresh water, agricultural domes producing abundant crops, and medical labs developing cures for diseases once thought incurable. Lyravan grew increasingly impressed, her initial curiosity blossoming into admiration. "You've done more than adapt this knowledge," she said during one tour. "You've embraced its spirit, its emphasis on sustainability and cooperation. This is something truly special." Kael'thor, however, remained unconvinced. He questioned every detail, probing for inconsistencies or hidden agendas. His relentless scrutiny tested Ji-un's patience, but she refused to rise to the bait. Instead, she focused on building rapport with Lyravan and the other ambassadors who seemed open to dialogue. As the delegation prepared to leave Earth, tensions flared once again. During a final meeting, Kael'thor voiced his lingering concerns. "While your efforts are commendable, humanity's track record leaves much to be desired. Your species has a history of conflict, greed, and short-sightedness. How can we trust you to wield such power wisely?" Ji-un met his gaze without flinching. "Because we've learned from our past," she replied. "Humanity is flawed. We make mistakes, yes, but we also learn, adapt, and grow. The Lumini entrusted us with their legacy because they believed in our potential, and we intend to honor that trust." Her words resonated with some of the ambassadors, particularly Lyravan, who spoke in support of giving humanity a chance. "Progress requires faith," she said softly. "If we dismiss Earth's achievements out of fear, we risk stifling innovation and collaboration. Is that truly the path we wish to take?" Though Kael'thor remained wary, the delegation ultimately decided to report back to the Council with a recommendation for continued observation rather than immediate intervention. For Ji-un, it was a small victory, but one that came at great cost. Back aboard the space station, Ji-un reflected on the events of the past week. The delegation's visit had revealed both strengths and weaknesses in humanity's position. While Earth's achievements spoke for themselves, the shadow of mistrust still loomed large. Ji-un knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but she also believed in humanity's ability to persevere. Min-su approached her as she gazed out at the stars. "Do you think we did enough?" he asked, his voice tinged with uncertainty. "We did what we could," Ji-un replied. "The rest is up to the Council, and to humanity itself. If we continue to act with integrity and purpose, I believe we can win their trust." Min-su nodded, though his expression remained troubled. "I just hope it's enough." Ji-un turned to him, her eyes filled with determination. "It has to be, because if we fail, it won't just be Earth that suffers. It'll be the entire galaxy." Outside the space station, the stars twinkled silently, their light a reminder of the vastness of the universe and the responsibility that came with exploring it. Humanity had taken its first steps toward proving itself worthy of the Lumini's legacy. Now, it was time to take the next ones. The delegation's visit to Earth had ended, but the ripple effects of their journey were only beginning to unfold. Back aboard the Galactic Council's space station, Ji-un and Min-su braced themselves for the Council's verdict. The ambassadors, who had traveled to Earth returned with mixed impressions, some impressed by humanity's progress, others still harboring deep suspicions. The stage was set for a pivotal moment that would shape the future of Earth and its place in the galaxy. Ji-un stood outside the council chamber, her mind racing as she prepared for the session. She replayed the events of the past week in her head, the debates, the tours, the questions fired at her like missiles. She knew the council's decision would hinge not just on facts, but on perception. Humanity's survival depended on whether they could convince these powerful beings that Earth was a force for good, not chaos. Minsu joined her, his expression tense. "This is it," he said quietly. "Whatever happens next, we'll have to face it together." Ji-un nodded, drawing strength from his words. "We've done everything we can. Now it's up to them." Inside the chamber, the atmosphere crackled with anticipation. Ambassadors filed into their seats, their body language betraying a mix of curiosity and apprehension. Kael'thor took his place near the center, his golden eyes scanning the room with an intensity that made even Ji-un uneasy. Lyravin floated gracefully to her seat, her translucent skin glowing faintly, a stark contrast to the rigid posture of the reptilian ambassador beside her. Vorath, the frail elder who led the council, called the session to order. His voice echoed through the chamber, low and commanding. "Esteemed members, we gather today to hear the findings of our delegation to Earth. Their observations will guide us in determining the appropriate course of action. Let us begin." Kael'thor rose first, his towering frame casting a shadow over the chamber. He spoke without preamble, his tone sharp and direct. "Earth's representatives claim their advancements stem from knowledge left behind by the Lumini, an array, extinct civilization whose artifacts they discovered. While their facilities appear impressive, I remain unconvinced of their sincerity. Humanity has shown flashes of brilliance, yes, but also recklessness. Can we trust them to wield such power responsibly?" His words sparked murmurs among the counselors, some nodding in agreement while others frowned in thought. Ji-un clenched her fists, resisting the urge to interrupt. She knew Kael'thor's skepticism carried weight, and his influence could sway undecided members. Next, Lyravin stepped forward, her melodic voice cutting through the tension. "I must disagree with Ambassador Kael'thor," she began softly. "What I witnessed on Earth was not merely technological prowess. It was a profound respect for balance and harmony. Their cities thrive without harming the environment. Their innovations prioritize sustainability over greed. This is not the work of a reckless species, but of one determined to learn from past mistakes." Her words drew nods of approval from several ambassadors, including a few who had previously sided with Kael'thor. Ji-un felt a flicker of hope, though she knew the battle was far from won. Other delegates shared their perspectives, each adding layers to the debate. Some praised Earth's achievements, highlighting the potential benefits of collaboration. Others echoed Kael'thor's concerns, warning of the dangers posed by unchecked ambition. The discussion grew heated, with accusations flying back and forth like sparks in a firestorm. As the arguments raged on, Ji-un realized something crucial. The council was divided. There was no clear consensus, no unified stance. This presented both an opportunity and a risk. If she played her cards right, she might be able to tip the scales in humanity's favor. But one wrong move could seal Earth's fate. When Vorath finally called for a pause in the proceedings, Ji-un seized the chance to speak. Stepping forward, she addressed the assembly with a calmness that masked her inner turmoil. "Honorable council members," she began, her voice steady despite the storm brewing inside her. "Humanity understands your concerns. We are aware of the responsibility that comes with the Lumini's legacy, and we embrace it fully. Our goal is not domination, but cooperation. Not destruction, but restoration." She paused, letting her words sink in before continuing. "We invite you to see this not as a threat, but as an opportunity. Together we can use the Lumini's knowledge to address challenges facing the entire galaxy: starvation, environmental collapse, conflict. Imagine what we could achieve if we worked as one, combining our strengths and wisdom." Her speech stirred emotions in the chamber. Some ambassadors exchanged thoughtful glances, clearly moved by her vision of unity. Others remained guarded, their expressions unreadable. Kael'thor listened intently, his clawed hands resting on the railing before him. When Ji-un finished, he leaned forward slightly, his gaze piercing. "Your words are inspiring, Representative Ji-un," he admitted, grudgingly. "But inspiration alone cannot guarantee safety. How do we ensure humanity will not misuse this power once our backs are turned?" Ji-un met his gaze without flinching. "By working together. Oversight is essential, and we welcome it. Establish joint initiatives, share resources, and hold us accountable. Humanity asks not for blind trust, but for partnership." Her response earned murmurs of approval from several counselors, including Lyravan, who smiled faintly in encouragement. Even Kael'thor seemed momentarily taken aback, though he quickly masked his surprise with his usual stoic demeanor. As the session resumed, the council began hashing out proposals for moving forward. Some suggested imposing strict regulations on Earth's use of Lumini technology, while others advocated for collaborative projects under close supervision. Ji-un and Min-Su listened carefully, offering input where appropriate and steering the conversation toward mutual benefit. By the time the meeting adjourned, a tentative plan had emerged, a trial period during which Earth would partner with select council members to implement the Luminae's innovations across various sectors. Progress would be monitored closely, and any signs of misuse would result in immediate intervention. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start, a lifeline tossed to humanity amidst turbulent waters. Later that evening, Ji-un and Min-Su sat together in their quarters, reflecting on the day's events. The weight of the council's decision hung heavy in the air, but there was also a sense of cautious optimism. "We did it," Min-Su said, breaking the silence. "For now, at least. They're giving us a chance." Ji-un nodded, though her expression remained serious. "A chance, yes, but don't forget, they'll be watching us closely." "One misstep and it's over," Min-Su sighed, running a hand through his hair. "It feels like we're walking a tightrope. Every step matters." "That's why we need to stay focused," Ji-un replied firmly. "This isn't just about proving ourselves to the Council. It's about showing the galaxy what humanity is capable of, what we can achieve when we come together." As they spoke, a message arrived from Earth. It was from Jun-hyuk, updating them on the latest developments. The research team had uncovered additional fragments of the Luminae's archives, shedding more light on their history and intentions. With each new discovery, humanity's understanding of its role in the cosmos deepened. Ji-un read the message, silently, her heart swelling with pride. Despite the challenges ahead, she couldn't help but feel a spark of hope. Humanity had faced countless trials throughout its history, emerging stronger each time. Now, armed with the Luminae's knowledge and guided by the lessons of the past, they stood poised to take their place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as builders. Outside the space station, the galaxy stretched endlessly, a tapestry of light and shadow. Somewhere within it lay the echoes of the Luminae, their legacy waiting to be fulfilled. And somewhere closer, Earth spun quietly, its people dreaming of a brighter future. Ji-un turned to Min-Su, her resolve unwavering. "Let's make sure we don't waste this opportunity, for Earth, for the galaxy, for everyone." He nodded, a small smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "Agreed. Let's show them what we're made of." The trial period had begun, and Earth found itself under the watchful eyes of the Galactic Council. Every move humanity made was scrutinized, every decision analyzed for signs of misuse or ambition. The pressure weighed heavily on Ji-un and Min-Su as they coordinated efforts between Earth's leaders and the Council-appointed overseers. While some ambassadors were cautiously supportive, others remained openly hostile, waiting for any excuse to justify intervention. Back on Earth, Jun-hyuk and Su-jin worked tirelessly to ensure compliance with the Council's strict guidelines. They collaborated closely with alien experts who had been stationed at the Global Research Institute to monitor progress. These observers ranged from curious allies like Lyravan's aides to suspicious skeptics sent by Kael'thor. Tensions ran high, but Jun-hyuk refused to let doubt cloud his focus. "This isn't just about proving ourselves," he told Su-jin during one late-night meeting. "It's about showing them that we can use this power responsibly. Not just for Earth, but for everyone." Su-jin nodded, her expression grim. "Easier said than done. One wrong step and it's over. We can't afford mistakes." Their concerns weren't unfounded. Despite their best efforts, rumors of dissent within the council began to surface. Vorath, the frail elder leading the council, seemed increasingly uneasy about humanity's rapid advancements. His hesitation emboldened factions within the council who viewed Earth as a threat. Among them was General Vorthak, a hawkish leader from the Zorvath Empire whose disdain for humanity bordered on contempt. Vorthak wasted no time exploiting the situation. During a routine update session aboard the space station, he stood before the assembly, his voice booming through the chamber. "Enough delays. Humanity cannot be trusted with such power. Their so-called partnership is nothing more than a facade, a ploy to buy time while they consolidate their strength." His words ignited outrage among the councilors. Some rose to defend Earth, citing the progress already achieved under supervision. Others sided with Vorthak, echoing his calls for immediate action. Ji-eun watched the chaos unfold, her heart sinking as she realized the fragile truce they had built was crumbling. When the session ended, Ji-eun received an encrypted message from Earth. It was urgent. Jun-hyuk's voice crackled through the transmission, tense and rushed. "Ji-eun, we have a problem. Someone infiltrated the Institute last night. They tried to steal the Lumini artifacts." Ji-eun froze, her mind racing. "Are you sure? Who would do something like that?" "We don't know yet," Jun-hyuk replied. "But whoever it was, they weren't working alone. This feels orchestrated, like part of a larger plan." Min-soo entered the room just as Ji-eun disconnected the call. Seeing her pale face, he frowned. "What's wrong?" She explained the situation quickly, her voice trembling with anger and fear. "If word gets out about this, it'll confirm everything the council fears, that we're hiding something, or worse, that we're incapable of protecting what we've been entrusted with." Min-soo clenched his fists, his jaw tightening. "Then we need to act fast. Find out who's behind this before it escalates." Meanwhile, back on Earth, Jun-hyuk and Su-jin scrambled to contain the fallout. Security teams swept the Institute, searching for clues left behind by the intruders. Fragments of evidence pointed to a sophisticated operation, advanced hacking tools, cloaking devices, and weapons far beyond human capability. Whoever had orchestrated the attack clearly had access to cutting-edge technology. As they pieced together the details, Su-jin noticed something peculiar. "Look at this," she said, pointing to a damaged console in the lab. "These markings, they match designs used by the Zorvath Empire." Jun-hyuk's eyes widened. "You think Vorthak's involved?" "It's possible," Su-jin replied, grimly. "He's been vocal about his distrust of humanity. If he wanted to sabotage us, this would be the perfect way to do it." Determined to stop the conspiracy, Jun-hyuk contacted Ji-eun again. He briefed her on their findings, emphasizing the need for discretion. "We can't accuse Vorthak directly without proof," he warned, "but if we expose his involvement indirectly, it might force the council to take action against him instead of us." Ji-eun agreed, though the risk was enormous. Exposing Vorthak meant confronting one of the most powerful figures in the galaxy, a man who wouldn't hesitate to retaliate. Still, she knew they had no other choice. With Min-soo's help, she devised a plan to gather irrefutable evidence. That night, Min-soo volunteered to investigate further. Armed with a portable scanner disguised as a communicator, he ventured into restricted areas of the space station where Vorthak's operatives were rumored to operate. Moving silently through dimly lit corridors, he avoided detection until he reached a secure data hub. Inside, he discovered files detailing covert operations targeting Earth. Among them were blueprints for sabotaging the Lumini project, along with communications linking Vorthak to the infiltration attempt. Just as Min-soo finished downloading the information, alarms blared throughout the station. "Who's there?" a gruff voice demanded from behind him. Min-soo turned to see two armed guards approaching, their weapons drawn. Thinking quickly, he activated a decoy drone program to mimic his appearance. As the guards chased after the drone, Min-soo slipped away, clutching the stolen data. Back in their quarters, Ji-Yun greeted him with relief, but also concern. "Did anyone see you?" "I don't think so," Min-Soo replied, handing her the data chip. "But we need to act quickly. Once Vorthak realizes his secrets are compromised, he'll come after us." Ji-Yun nodded, her resolve hardening. "Then, let's make sure we strike first." The next day, Ji-Yun requested an emergency session of the council. When the chamber convened, she stepped forward, her demeanor calm but commanding. Holding up the data chip, she addressed the assembly. "Esteemed council members, I bring troubling news. Evidence has surfaced implicating certain individuals in acts of sabotage aimed at undermining Earth's partnership with the council." A murmur rippled through the chamber as Ji-Yun projected the incriminating documents onto the main screen. The room fell silent as Vorthak's name appeared alongside detailed plans for the infiltration attempt. Gasps erupted from several ambassadors, while others exchanged shocked glances. Vorthak rose abruptly, his face flushed with rage. "This is outrageous! Lies spread by humans desperate to deflect blame!" Kael'thor, however, studied the evidence carefully. Turning to Vorthak, he spoke in a low, dangerous tone. "Explain yourself, General. These documents bear your seal, and they align with recent events." "Caught off guard," Vorthak stammered, struggling to deny the undeniable. The tide of opinion shifted dramatically as even his staunchest supporters began to question his motives. Lyravan floated forward, her voice gentle yet firm. "Betrayal weakens us all. If these accusations are true, justice must prevail, for the sake of unity." In the end, the council voted unanimously to strip Vorthak of his authority and launch an investigation into his actions. Though relieved, Ji-Yun knew the victory was bittersweet. The incident had exposed deep fractures within the council, reminding her how fragile trust truly was. Later that evening, Ji-Yun sat alone in her quarters, staring out at the stars. The galaxy stretched endlessly before her, vast and unknowable. Yet amidst its complexity, one truth remained clear. Humanity's greatest strength lay not in its technology, but in its ability to persevere despite adversity. Min-Soo joined her, breaking the silence. "We survived another storm." "For now," Ji-Yun replied softly. "But there will be more. Our work isn't done." "No," Min-Soo agreed, "but we'll face them together." Outside the station, the stars twinkled quietly, indifferent to the struggles below. Somewhere among them, Earth waited, its people dreaming of a brighter future. And Ji-Yun vowed to fight for that dream. With every ounce of courage she,